All right, there we go.
Awesome. How are you?
Oh, so good. It's been a little while since we've been in session together, and we went to Mexico together. I mean, not at the
Yes.
same time,
At the
and
same time, but
yeah,
not.
not together.
I
It's
have to tell you about that. It was one of the coolest activations I've been a part of.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I ended up going to this place called Las Piedrotas, which means like the big rocks. And the night before, well, the whole day before, I had got really, really swollen. I think it was just like a combination of things, but it was almost like being pregnant. I was throwing up. I was really swollen. My stomach, it literally looked like I was probably 7 months pregnant. My legs, my ankles were huge. My face was huge. And so the next day, my whole family had planned to go on this hike to a waterfall, and it's supposed to be like a really intense hike. So everybody was like, why don't you stay behind, because you're not going to be able to do this hike. Which gave me a chance to be able to like wake up, and because it was such a go family trip. It was, the itinerary was like packed full, everyone's waking up at like 6 a.m. It was intense. So was my first chance to really just like I'd like have a slow morning and meditate and really just check in.
yeah.
And the afternoon itinerary was this rocks place. And it's a huge energetic portal that it's like these big, huge rocks. They all look like things like a whale head or like a turtle or a rabbit or a gorilla or fingers like this. Like and
Whoa.
there's so many theories as to like how that happened. And I had wanted to go to pyramids, and there was two buried pyramids in the where we were at.
Whoa.
Super energetic. The guy was like talking about doing medicine, and just what an intense energetic like portal that was. So it was a little bit overcast. And this, we had gone all the way around at this point, and I look up at the sun, and the clouds around the sun look like an eye, and the
Wow.
sun is the pupil, and I could literally see swirling coming out of the sun, almost like a shadow. And I
Wow.
grabbed my mom. I'm like, Mommy, do you look at the sun? Do you see that? And my mom's like, it looks like there's something coming out. And my mom's not like, I
Wow.
think I have made her a little bit like that, but not, she's not gonna like look up at the sun and be like, oh my gosh, something's happening, you know?
Yeah.
And so that happens, and everybody's like kind of walking up to the entrance at this point, and I look over, and the rocks are huge, and there's two that are like, one that's kind of leaning on another one, creating this big empty space, and I could see orbs,
Wow.
huge, huge, like way bigger than like a human, maybe the size of like a fridge or something. Just like
Wow.
the first one showed up in blue, like a transparent, kind of like maybe third eye, throat chakra blue, kind of right
Okay.
in there. And the longer I stared at it, it had this green aura around it.
Oh,
And
wow.
if I would have had more time, I don't know if I would have tried walking over there or getting closer, but I'm like taking a step and looking back, taking a step and looking back, and I'm just like staring at it. Like I can actually see this. And I grabbed my cousin, and I was like, cousin, do you see a light over there? And she's like, no, but I believe you based on what I know. And I was
Yeah.
like, there's a light over there. And as I'm coming up, there was a big other like white orb, smaller, next to it and just a little bit above it.
Wow.
So, and it was intense. My swelling went down after that. It was crazy. It was almost like being pregnant with something. And I feel like my spiritual eyes have been opened since that, because not even like the sun, nothing looks the same anymore. Like I can see like particles, like little rainbows. It's like being on medicine all the time.
Isn't it amazing? Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
Wow.
it was amazing.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so
Yeah.
happy you got that experience, and when you're in that experience or anything like that, I think there's so much more going on than we are even consciously aware of. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a really cool space to be in. And it was cool because when we did our session together, I was told, like, you're about to have activation after activation. They're going to come in really fast. And I was like, well, is that going to be a lot of work? Because sometimes that's a lot of work.
It can
And I
be.
was like, no, you've been doing the work. It'll be intense, but it's going to be fine.
Mhm.
And I have to say, I've had a new activation about every 3 to 4 days since I saw you.
Wow, Ellie.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You have been doing the work, girl. Great, great work. Great job. And just aho to you for like doing that and just being in it and receiving it. And the more that you receive it, the more it just opens up.
Yeah, it's also been intense and hard. It has. Like this last week, I feel like I was in a really dark place. But then this morning I had a meditation and it was like literally coming out of a cocoon. I could see like wings sprouting. I was like, oh, no wonder that was so hard. It
Right?
was
You're
that
birthing
dark right
yourself.
before.
Yeah, it's a process of like that whole cocoon experience. We keep going through that process, right? And it's like a
Yeah.
birthing cycle. And I just keep remembering, birth is messy. It can be hard. Wow,
Yeah.
what a beautiful, when you come out on the other side, it's like, and expansiveness. That's what I feel for me right now is this like expansion. Yeah, more
Yes.
expansive feel to you.
Oh, yeah. It's been exciting and hard and all the things. So
Mm,
I'm really excited. I feel like it's putting me on my path.
you are on your path every step. But
Well, okay. So what I'm gonna do is just like introduce myself, like just like I introduce myself for my own videos, and
okay.
then I have some questions that we'll go into.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Ellie with Journeys with Ellie. And once again, I'm so excited to meet you on your path wherever you're at. Today, we're going to be interviewing with Jackie. She is someone that I met at a women's symposium. I think that's where we met years ago.
Mhm.
And she's just someone I've stayed in contact with. And in this journey, one of the things I want to do is connect with people who I feel are really doing the work, especially women. And Jackie is definitely one of those. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Ellie. It's great to be here with you and get to share some time with you.
Thank you. So we met a few weeks ago for one of your sessions where I got a sample of your sessions. And I just want to let you know that was so incredibly powerful. And I am so excited to tell the world about it. And we talked about you being like a spiritual housekeeper. Do
Mm.
you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. I like to use terms that are relatable because when we're doing our work, and I refer to it as soul work, and when we step on that path of, hey, who am I? Why am I even here? Like, and I want to feel purpose. All of these things when I start working with someone, and especially when you're in that space, you're just starting to seek out all of the answers to those questions and all the other things in your life. And oftentimes there are things that are not going right. And those are the times that probably when we are in that place of waking up. It's for me, it was that spiritual 2x4 to the head, right? And so, hey, wake up.
Yeah.
It can be a hard one. It can be a very challenging time. And so we all have stuff that we have accumulated. Can you imagine living in the same room that you grew up in, but still today, and all the things that you've accumulated and all the stuff that you probably didn't want to look at, so put in a box and then you put it in the closet. And well, emotionally, we've done that. And so inside, I think of our bodies, and we have a physical body, an emotional body and a mental body, and all of those bodies are made up of energy. And they're cluttered. They're often cluttered depending on what we've consumed as energy. And food is a form of energy, but not only do we consume that, but we consume experiences, and we have emotions, and what do we do with that? When we experience a moment in our life that has brought significant trauma into our space, or perhaps, even our own beliefs have led us down a path where it just doesn't work for us. And so when I refer to housekeeping or a house cleaner, really it's about working with people and helping them identify, like, what is it in their house, in their temple, and this is my temple, that's your temple, and what's going on inside, and let's start opening up and decluttering. And so the process of soul work is really identifying those areas within ourselves that are creating discord and dis-ease in our life, whether it's emotional or physical or even mental. So yeah, it's about cleaning up, cleaning the house, so that way we can make some space for something else to come into it.
Awesome. That is a really good way to describe it, because that would be a very full room. If we just had boxes and boxes of all our experiences in that same room, that's a lot of stuff that accumulates. So tell me a little bit about the modalities that you use to clean up.
Well, I've been on my healing path myself for over 20 years. And through that process, I've experienced and tried a lot of different modalities. And it was during a time where there really wasn't this, things like Reiki and energy healing were a bit more taboo. However, I was always interested, and it piqued my curiosity into the metaphysical. And so through that, I've really acquired a lot of different tools and learnings and experiences that I use today with people in doing this type of work. So when I work with someone, I initially just start with the concept that you are the medicine. And maybe you've heard of that. You've heard, like, you have all the answers inside. You have everything you need within yourself. And it's like, really? Because I don't see it. Wait.
Well, what does that even mean? I mean, when you're first starting, you're like, okay, well, what does that even mean?
Right. And yeah, what does that even mean? And if I do, then why am I in the position that I'm in?
Right.
So that whole process is really working on understanding, what's going on inside. And so when I work with someone, it's really evaluating, where are you? Where are you today? And I know we can talk about what's occurred through your process that have brought you here. But then at that point, it's really investigating what's going on with you physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so I use a bioenergetic scanner in my practice, and it's a form of inquiry, inquiring your body. Your body will always tell the truth. And so if you've heard of the technique or modality of applied kinesiology or muscle testing, this device that I use is basically doing that. It's inquiring and asking different questions of the body to identify where imbalances lie within you, your physical, emotional, mental bodies. Through that report, then we're able to start identifying, hey, perhaps, you're physically, you may have some tummy issues, you may have some physical symptoms. The report will show us where your imbalances are. On an emotional level, we're able to also see what kind of emotions you're currently dealing with. Your body will pick and help describe, like, here's the emotion that's creating the most issue for you right now. And where it may be tied to, like, whether it's a generational pattern, how it may impact your body. Maybe it's impacting your endocrine system. And through that, it will also help us understand what types of declarations and affirmations and beliefs that will help you start to regain and reprogram yourself with because I do believe that, and through my work, the psyche is very interesting, and what your mind is very powerful. And you've been through however many years you've been on this planet, we've been learning ever since children. We've been modeled different ways of being. We've been conditioned, taught. We just watch TV, examples. We input, and we're starting to make decisions, even from a tender age, about life and how we are supposed to do life and relationships and all of that. And so as we're getting all this information from the scanner, we're starting to see a pattern come up for you. And I think in your process, do you remember some of the things that were coming up for you that stuck out?
I have energy. I mean, some of the things that were pulling up was stuff from my dad, like paternal. I had boundaries, the color violet, like indigo. I think it was indigo. And oh man, it was such a good report, but
Yeah,
I
there's a
should
lot
look
in
at
there.
it right before we got on. I think there was a lot.
And so it was telling you things like, hey, you could really work with the color indigo. And that's an energy. And so even wearing the color indigo would help to just bring your energetic vibration, your resonance, because you are an energetic being. And everything I was just describing, food is energy. We consume that. Emotions are energy. Music is a form of energy. It can touch us and move us. And so there's a lot of ways our environment is all packed with energy. And so when we're around really disruptive surroundings, it can impact the way that we feel. And so, we're able to understand, what's going on in creating disruption, and how does your body want to correct course and bring you back into homeostasis, which is basically your balanced, centered, grounded self. Because when you're balanced, your physical body knows exactly what to do. It's designed to repair itself. It's designed to detoxify itself. But when it's out of balance, any part of you is out of balance, it can create a little or big challenge for you to function. And so we start with the report. And then after that, we then had you get on the microphone, because at that point, what we're having you do is start to create your own medicine. And the medicine I like to refer to as vibrational medicine. Everything resonates a vibration in our experience. This table, the computer, our bodies, everything is energy and has an energetic signature to it that's very unique. So as you're speaking, what we're doing is we're recording your voice in a way that we're going to be using this in your session, and you're recording whatever you want to reprogram yourself with. As this walking human computer, your psyche, your subconscious is always listening for direction, because you are, I refer to as, you're the cruise director. You're the creator. You're the creator of your reality. And if you think about it, you've got billions of little intelligences all packed inside this universe of yours. They're all at, their existence depends on you, meaning like what you ingest, how you feel, it actually changes their environment. And so your thoughts and your words have a lot to do with the way you actually feel. And so the idea is that as you are recording either affirmations or declarations such as, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of love. I am so healthy. What is it that if you had the opportunity to reprogram yourself, and you're a computer and you're putting some new software in, how would you want to what would you say to yourself? What would your higher self say to you? And that's what we're capturing as medicine, because what we do next after that's been recorded is I'll put you on this wonderful vibroacoustic bed that's back here. And this bed is actually designed with 4 transducers in it. And when someone lays on it, when you laid on it, we had you go through a program that had different frequencies, and you had some headphones on. And what you're doing there is you're laying on the bed and not only experiencing different frequencies, which have different purposes. Different frequencies work with your different bodies, emotional, mental, and physical bodies. And they help to stimulate. So when we're talking about resonance, let's say we hit the letter C on a piano, right? And so when we're coming into harmony with something, we're tuning ourselves to match that frequency. And so resonance is all about, do you resonate with something? Does it match you? And have you ever seen like a frequency that shatters, like the wine glass? Have you seen those commercials?
Yeah.
And the wine glass shatters because the sound matches the frequency of the glass. And so once it like hits, it's like they're in harmony, but it also matches, and it's like, boom, it bursts it. And it doesn't burst us, but what happens is when we come into resonance, into a higher vibration, then anything that's not vibrating or resonating at that level can't hang on. It falls away, right? It just can't exist in that higher vibration state. So when you're on the bed, you're basically going into a meditative state. The music program, there's many of them that we can choose from depending on what you are working on. And so as you're listening to the music and feeling the vibration of the music coming through the bed, you are actually receiving those frequencies, and that vibration has having impact on you, and all those 3 realms, that the physical, emotional, mental. When you get into a relaxed state, you then come into a parasympathetic state, which is that rest and rejuvenate state, as opposed to fight or flight that we're always in. Yeah. And it's just stress. Every way that we can consume stress, that will keep us in that locked fight or flight. And so if you've been stressed a lot, you've been probably in a fight or flight, stance. Your body is producing chemicals, always waiting, ready to run, whatever it may be. On the bed, what we're doing is getting you into a parasympathetic state so you can just relax. And when you relax, you open. And when you open, that is when the magic starts happening, because you're in a relaxed state. And at that point, things will start to just occur. And it's different for everyone, but there's some similarities that I notice, is that energies, I'm very attuned to energies. And so I can feel energies starting to move out. It's almost like when the bed's vibrating, it's almost like it's sifting everything that doesn't belong. And I'm cleaning it off, and we're moving it out. And that's the part that I was referring to as the house cleaning. I'm just curious, Ellie, when you were on the bed experiencing that part of the session where you were just laying on the bed and you had the eye shades on and the earphones in and listening to the music, what was your experience like?
For me, I meditate a lot. And so I recognize that vibration, like I can go there. It's like a trained vibration for me. And so it dropped me right into right into a meditative state. And then I was seeing just so much. I was downloading so much information. I could see things that were coming. I was being told, like one of the things that I was told is that I was going to have a lot of activations back to back, that they were all gonna be coming in. And that made me a little bit nervous. And so my question was, is it going to be intense? Like, am I going to be able to handle that? Because a lot of times activations, can be a lot. And it was like, no, you've done the work. It'll be intense. It'll be work, but it's not gonna like take you out. And so that was some of the information that I received and it drops you right in. So that was really cool to experience.
Yes, definitely. And, through the use of like some medicines that you can also complement the session with, I like to work with hape or rape. That's beautiful medicine, as well as tinctures and sacred tobacco. So yeah, there's ways that we can also access and support through that session.
Mhm.
And so I'm so happy to hear it. And I noticed that like you were like really dropped in very quickly. And yeah, it was just beautiful to hear about your experience afterwards. So after we were done house cleaning, then we moved into, now that you've created space, what are you going to put in that space? And it's kind of like gardening. I've been working in my yard a lot. So I've been seeing a lot of similarities as I was pulling weeds and like digging up new things. Um, and I just noticed I cleared out this big patch of dirt, and I just felt, and I've done that before, and I would just leave it because I didn't get back to it, and weeds would pop up again. And so this time I realized it's like, wow, it's kind of like when we work, when we're creating space, there's no
Mhm.
voids in the universe. And so, you get to choose, consciously choose, what do I want to put into that space now that I've made space?
Mhm.
I want to reprogram myself with. And a friend of mine who does a lot of psychedelic research, psychedelic therapy research, uh, shared with me that your brain is 200 times more open to receiving a suggestion in your own voice than from hearing it like from an affirmations, I keep saying CD, but track. Um,
Mhm.
and those are great, but to hear it in your own voice, and that's the medicine. So that the last part of that session is then I DJ back to you, and I feed back into you through a second journey, mini journey is with music. And it's like a meditation, listening to your own meditation track that you created just for yourself. And
Mhm.
it's your own medicine. And I'm not here to tell you what to say to yourself. And it's all coming from you. And so, this is the place where you can become empowered even more so in directing what it is that you want, even if it's physical healing, or if it's wanting to have more courage, trusting yourself, having more clarity, whatever it may be, you can put that in within yourself and have your subconscious start working on that instead of all of the nonsense stuff that we sometimes run through our heads all day. And it's just, well, energy leaks, if it's not
Right.
serving you, then let's give it something that it can serve you.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. Just
Mhm.
listening to the music. I mean, the whole thing was just amazing. And it just leads so perfectly into this space of I've made my own meditations where I read them back to myself in my own voice. I've said in other videos, you can't read and meditate at the same time. I mean, you can, but it isn't like take 3 deep breaths and you're just like, it's not like that. And so being able to hear, I use music a lot in my own meditations. And so it was just a combination of the things that I have already done. And it just, you create such a beautiful space to have that and to be able to hear your own voice, your own affirmations that I come up with on my own. You do not, you're not like, oh, you should say this or you should say that. That's not at all how it works. And so
Mhm.
it's also really beautiful to see what your spirit is wanting to hear and receive, and kind of like that visual of like a closet and you take everything out and it's like, hey, now what are you going to put back? Or like the garden, like now what are you going to put back?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Uh, yeah. And after a session, um, you're if you keep feeding that and keep, you know, feeding your subconscious with those thoughts and keep embodying imagine what it would feel like to be in that place that you're wanting to manifest, whether it's, you know, having abundance or financial freedom or a partner in your life. It's a lot of it has to do with not only giving yourself the suggestions, but then starting to embody it. It's like trying on a new outfit and you're like, I don't know if this feels right. Well, if you're wanting to manifest something, if try feeling it, putting it on in your imagination, like, what does it feel like?
Yeah.
Because a couple of things, if it comes and you're not comfortable with it, it's not going to stick. And so get comfortable with it. And then the
Mhm.
second thing is, you want to be able to recognize it when it does show up. And
Right?
yeah, and so
Yeah.
it has a lot to do with creating a new normal. Like, how do you want your new normal to feel like? And start embodying it and imagining that. And
Yeah.
it will all start transforming very quickly.
And what a beautiful, I mean, that makes it tangible too, is when it does show up, you can be like, this is what I called in, you can recognize it.
Yeah, the integration work afterwards, whether you're doing a large, a full journey, uh, in a like a plant medicine journey, or if you're doing a smaller session journey, whatever it may be, integration is so important. Even when we're going to school and becoming educated, it's about applying
Yes,
it. And so,
absolutely.
so
I think
that's the
that's
body part.
so much in our world, like in healers and stuff. You just see people that constantly want to do medicine or constantly want to be on the next journey. But really, I feel like without integrating, it's more of a chase rather than a journey.
Exactly, because it kind of reminds me of like, I want to, and I have to admit, I had that when I first stepped into that realm, and it was like, oh, cool, I start feeling great. And, you want to do it more and more and more.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of wisdom that comes through integration. And so I completely agree, Ellie. Because if you don't learn it, you're going to have to go back and do it.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean, I know this is a silly visual, but I remember someone was saying to me they would read a book and then they would act like they just were the new guru of that thing. And I was like, well, that's like me watching a movie on strippers and like instantly being like, yep, I'm a professional stripper, and
yeah.
there's so you can't just like see something or read something. The integration part is what actually, when you can start to embody that and learn that and be it and show up that way. And honestly, we all do a little bit of the chase at one point or another because we get so excited, and that's great too. But I fully believe in integration work because I think that's when it really, that's like being able to enjoy your meal, and being like, oh, that was really satisfying.
That is such a great way of putting it. Yeah, I love that.
So, how long do your sessions normally last if somebody comes to see you? And
Great question. They're 2.5 hours, and rightly so because of all the things I just described.
right,
And there is some time at the beginning of the session just to visit, understand what's going on, and that way we can set the intention for the session.
beautiful.
Yeah, and just some time afterwards to make sure that you're grounded before you take off and go back into life.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so I'm gonna see if something else comes up, but I want to take this in a little bit of a different direction. I
Okay.
have some questions that I want to ask everybody. Um,
Okay.
what does healing look like for you?
Oh, well, if you asked me about, 10 years ago, I would say that healing was all about suffering and like just heavy.
Yeah.
And it can be. Um, but healing also can be fun and can be done through play,
Yeah.
which I feel like many of us are resistant to. And so healing in general, I would say overall is bringing you back into wholeness. Like I cut my hand on something yesterday out in the garden, and my body's healing it. And so, it's naturally just going through a process of stitching itself back together. And, the immune system is helping with avoiding infection, whatever it may be. But the healing process is bringing me back into wholeness. And healing really is, when we're doing our soul work, healing is really just, to me, retrieving those aspects that have fractured off through life, distortions that have been created through and have created the perceptions that we see life through our eyes and how we see the world. Healing is all about, coming back home to ourselves and really finding what truth is, because your truth will set you free. You remember that I grew up in religion, and there was something in the scriptures, don't ask me where, but I remember hearing, it's like, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And then one day I was in a meditation and I just saw it written, like, how like the airplanes would skywrite. And I just saw the truth will set you free. And then they scribbled out and it said, your truth will set you free.
Ooh.
And really, that's, to me, is healing, is identifying what is your truth. What is your truth? And let's get you back there, because that's home. That's where you are in your power. That's where in your essence, and that's where you can discover so much more about yourself.
Well, and I think that's what's so beautiful about this journey, is that finding your truth doesn't necessarily look like what everybody else's does. Like, what does it look like for you? What do you believe in? What feels good to you? What feels like home? Like, what can you say? This is what I believe in.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
What does healing not look like for you?
Oh, what does healing not look like? Oh, well, healing, that's a really good question, Ellie. Healing does not look like games. I would say that I know that I am not healing when I am feeling not connected. When I'm not healing, I feel alone. The feeling of, and a lot of this is feelings, right?
Right.
And not healing is also can be confusion, but not always. When we're in confusion, that's an interesting place, because it's a place of possibilities. So when people come, for session, or my coach as well, and they're like, I'm so confused, I don't even know where to go, and realize there's a part of them that is wanting to be expressed, and there may be this like conflict inside because there's a judgment, and so when we're feeling conflict inside, there may, and we've been in this constant conflict for a long time. If you've been like rattling something in your head for more than a year, chances are there's something that gets to be healed.
Yeah.
Because we are made up of so many different parts inside of us. And if you've heard of parts work and such, and I have a part that's like the manager, and she loves to project manage everything. I have a part that's like the whimsical, playful, I don't want responsibility girl. And then there's the girl that's like the serious, the serious spiritual person. And then, and it goes on and on. And healing, to me, when we're not healing, we are running life and allowing these parts to kind of jump in without really consciously knowing. And I often think about, it's like, would you, if you have an issue with a parent, for instance, and we keep feeling like we're dropping into that 6-year-old again, and I feel like I'm 6-year-old coming around this person, well, that's a part that gets to be healed. And so rather than having my 6-year-old go have this conversation, how about I have my 53-year-old have, my current self go have this conversation?
Right.
It feels different. And so when we're feeling like we're dropping into this other age, again, that's a good indication that healing has not been, there's work to be done there to do some healing work.
I love that. Um, let's see. So when you first heard of healing, like what does healing mean to you? And what did you think of when somebody was like healing? What did that, what came up for you?
When I heard the word healing,
Yeah, in the beginning when it was like, okay, let's talk about healing. What does that mean to you?
when I first heard it, I was going through my own, shit show back in 20 years ago or so. And the whole concept, I hadn't done therapy, I hadn't done any of that. Like all this stuff was completely new to me. And so when I heard about healing, I was really in a place where I was emotionally a hot mess. Physically, my body wasn't working. Everything was shutting down. And I just wanted answers. And when I first heard healing, I thought, well, prescription medications, I have IBS, blah, 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 and maybe that will heal. And I started to realize that healing really meant understanding myself first. And as many doctors or therapists that I could go to, no one could actually heal me but me. And so when I first heard it, I would hear about hands-on healing. And, I was stepping into this new agey stuff and I'm like, oh, there's energy healing and all this kind of healing. And it seemed kind of far-fetched out there, woo-woo stuff. But really when I distill it down, it's really about us taking responsibility for ourselves and wanting to feel better ultimately, and not have to always be stressed out about what's going to happen next.
Right. Okay, that's a good answer. What tools did you use? What were some of the first tools that you tapped into that made this fun for you, that made you look forward to continuing the work?
Oh, well, when I was telling you about my crisis I had a long time ago, and that was really that awakening 2x4 to the head. I was introduced to my husband at the time connected me with this woman in town that did iridology. And at the time I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
But I was so sick. I basically just said, I don't care if she throws blood on me and chants, makes my thing go away. I'd be totally cool with that. And because there's a point where you get so desperate,
right,
something that you're willing to entertain other options. And that's where I was. And so during that process, she looked in my eyes with magnifying glass and she was telling me stuff about myself. And then she was like pushing down on my arm, which I then found out was muscle testing. And she was asking my body questions. And so that was the first thing that really was introduced to me, which was fascinating. I was so fascinated by it. And then she put me in touch with a woman, a friend of hers, that Pam Robinson, who does emotional processing or inner child healing.
Oh,
So I had a lot of inner child work to do because of traumas that had occurred in my past. And so that was the second modality that really came into my space. And that was really about regressing. It was like using a hypnosis regression technique. And my first session, she regressed me back to the age of 3. And when she told me we're going to go to age 3, because she had muscle tested me and my body said 3 years old, I told her, Pam, I can't remember yesterday, let alone 3 years old. She said, well, your body's like a computer. And this is when I started learning it. And she said, your body remembers everything that has ever occurred. And so all we're going to do is we're going to access, just like on a computer, the files, associated with that. And we're just going to go look. And she coached me on just allowing whatever emotions or images or feelings to share that. And and now I realize that the subconscious speaks in a lot of different ways, and a lot of it is symbology as well. So that was so impactful for me. But and definitely helped save my life. And I owe her a lot. There's a lot of people that have stepped into my space that have saved me in a lot of different ways and taught me much. But through that process, I also learned angel therapy and Reiki. I teach Reiki classes off and on as well. Past life regression work, bioenergetic work. I love to move, so I do a lot of embodiment work as well. Yeah, and so it's moved in, it's morphing all the time, because as I continue to not only work on myself, because I'm still doing soul work,
Right.
working with others, it's like things just continue to evolve, and one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And so I don't like, well, I shouldn't say I don't like, but I no longer say I do one thing. I may do a modality or I may incorporate it. But really, when I come into session, even though we're using like the vibroacoustic bed and all that, I'm still bringing with me my etherical tool bag, if you will, and
Right.
pull from it. And so spirit during session may say, "Hey, we're going to be doing. There's some stuff here from age 5. Let's go work on that." And so the session may go in that direction. So yeah, all these modalities, whatever, when you're on your path and you're doing your work and you're finding that something that really just resonates with you and you're like, this clicks, I'm accessing stuff, I'm moving stuff, I'm really starting to see results from this, you know, honor it. And that may work for you, may not work for other people. And so through that process, you're going to start learning how to work with that modality, and you may be inspired to want to give back. Like that's basically what happened to me. Is like I went to school for a year and to go learn how to do inner child processing with Pam. So now I have that in my tool bag, and along with all the other things that I've used in my own healing. I'm a voracious learner, so I love just absorbing information and applying it. So yeah, there's so many modalities out there right now, and sound healing, vibrational healing right now is it's really big in my space right now, and I'm being invited to continue to explore because there's a lot of new territory here. And so a lot of the work I'm doing is just through inspiration, through spiritual direction, and I am finding like so many beautiful surprises. So I don't know if I would even call it a modality. It's just the medicine I provide.
That's one of the things I want to touch base on, is because I think so many of us get caught up in one and we want to give it a name.
Yeah.
And what I really want to open space for is that there is so much out there and you can use so many tools. And I think that's what really creates our own medicine, is being able to pull from these tool belts that, it's like you're like, oh, look at this tool and look at this tool. And I think that the best medicine is the medicine that doesn't really have a name. It's being pulled from this magical tool belt. And I would like to encourage everyone to maybe step out of, I think that a lot of times spirituality gets put in a box as well. And I really want to open that box, and I want to open the tool belt and really just encourage people to find different things that work for you, find what does work for you, because it may not sound like therapy or dance or this or that, but there might be 10 other things that do work for you. So have fun in the process.
Exactly. It's about having fun. And again, how many of us have been suffering for years? It's like you got the t-shirt. It's time for something different.
Yeah.
And have fun. That's what we came down to do is, discover those gifts that are within us, the things that want to express and birth through us, and experience our creations. That really ultimately is what I believe we're here to do. Is we're creators. So we create something and we experience it. It's kind of like when you bake something and then you taste it. It's like, how did that turn out? Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Maybe I want to put some like more cinnamon in it next time. And really it's kind of, I like using that analogy because it's really what we're doing. The question is, are you creating from a conscious place or an unconscious place?
Right. Yes, beautifully said. Um, when did you know that you were gifted, that you had gifts?
Well, this is an interesting one because ever since I was a child, I've really believed in magic. And I have memories of trying to like cover. I have this memory as a child. I was like wrapping something in a handkerchief, and I hid it under the bed, and I was trying to teleport it to the living room, and it wasn't working. But I was like so persistent because I knew it was supposed to work, and it was just a funny little game I would do. But then I fast forward and I kind of like do a little review. If you kind of like scan your life and you're like, oh, I saw signs of, now I can see where I was really kind of showing. There's like little clues along the way where you can kind of start seeing stuff develop. I would say that I started to at least believe I was a bit like either lucky or intuitive. I called it lucky. Because I was working in corporate and I really wasn't doing any of this type of work, but I was always kind of intrigued by mystical things, or tarot cards and things like that, that were like, at least like in my realm, were kind of taboo, especially when
Mhm.
we grow up. Um, and yeah, I would find that people would come into my office at work and, they just vent or what have you. And I would talk, and a lot of them would, and even at the grocery store, it's like, I don't know why I'm sharing all this with you. And you seem to, thank you. I feel so much more calm now. And I just thought, I just help calm people, and but I started to realize that, oh, I think I have this ability to kind of sense where someone's at. And I started to realize what they refer to as like becoming an empath, or you are an empath. And it's like I started to realize my empathic abilities about them, but I never really gave it much more than just like, oh, it's just something I can do. Um, it wasn't until my awakening that I started to really step into it and get to see it. But even then, and many people, you may you may feel like you're the same way. It's like something cool happens and you're like, oh, that's really cool. But that was just a one-off, right? That just
Right.
kind of brush it off. I realized the more that I accepted it and just had gratitude, that's like, wow, that really happened. How cool is that? It would happen again. And so the more that I was accepting and allowing of it, the more that it opened up for me. So I would say within the last 15 years, it really has opened more. And the more that I trust it, the more that it continues to.
Beautiful. I love that because my experience was similar. I think that as a kid, we do it, but we do it so naturally. We don't realize that that's not how everyone processes or feels or thinks or like receives their information. And so I think that as we get older, we can either tend to shut that down because we either said something or we did something that somebody was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that?
Mhm.
How did you know that? So yeah, I think for a lot of us, we already know from children. And then we get back to that place where we can learn to trust it again.
Definitely. It's kind of like you spend the first part of your life getting all wound up and getting entangled within like all these things that make life hard. And so we spend the second part of our life unwinding all of that and going
Yeah.
back to being more childlike as opposed to childish. And being more childlike really, to me, is about using your imagination. It's a huge tool. I mean, think about where all the big innovations have come from. They started
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where someone was like, I wonder. And that's a very childlike thing of like, I wonder about this, and being curious. And so really it's, having that approach to your soul work makes it so much more delightful. And and I find that, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but I just found through that process, I learned to not only laugh at myself, but love myself. It's like, oh my gosh, my personality is kind of funny sometimes. And, but
Yeah.
I'm stuck with myself. So there you go.
Why not be able to have fun with ourselves? We're going to live with that forever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, in closing, is there anything else that you want the audience to know?
Oh, wow. You know, I really have been sensing a huge activation happening. There's, if I can share this, Ellie,
Please do.
it was probably about a couple months ago, and I still feel it very strong that there's a big activation happening right now. And it's going to get a bit more intense, but there's also a lot of magic happening. And,
Mhm.
magic to me is science that has just not been, or it's science is not able to prove certain things. So therefore it's not science or real or tangible or what have you. But when we call it magic, it's just things happen, energy moves, and situations can shift. And you are a powerful creator. And there's the belief as a child, when we thought about magic, it was just a possibility. Everything was a possibility. And to allow yourself to come back into a place where everything's a possibility gives you so much more freedom and so many more ways of coming at something, and allowing yourself to come out of the space of the fixed mind. Your fixed mind is uh, basically where we're imprisoned, and so just slowly taking down all of those walls and allowing yourself to breathe and allow new possibilities to come in your space is huge, especially about this time where this activation window is coming through. And if I may share one more thing, Ellie, I
Please do.
can't say hi. Um, I'm also being reminded right now too to share the importance of record keeping right now.
Mhm.
The elders, we used to have a tradition, and when we were tribal, the elders would pass down the wisdom to the next generation. And the wisdom is really, we all have wisdom. Wisdom comes from experience. Wisdom is not about being smart. Wisdom is about being experienced.
Mhm.
To share those, record those, whether it's in a notebook, a journal, and it doesn't have to be a story. You don't have to be an author of a New York Times bestseller. It's for you. And
Mhm.
record keeping is your medicine. So as you get downloads, as you get these awarenesses, as you are in a place where you're like, I see clearly, record yourself. Even if it's recording yourself on a video, save it for yourself later, because I have also seen this as powerful medicine that is inside you that you can use later. Your future self will definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. I 100% believe in that because that is something I do a lot. And I will go back to old journals or even just old notes. Like I will talk into my phone because sometimes the downloads are just come so quick or it's an activation that happened. And I think that you're in such a clear space when you're receiving that information that it's also just as easy to forget. And so really taking the time to record keep and being able to look back on that is huge. So thank you for reminding us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I really want to thank you for taking the time today to share your medicine and to have the audience get to know you. And I really hope that we can connect the wisdom seekers to the wisdom keepers. And, really, my mission, that is my mission, is to connect the wisdom seekers to the wisdom keepers. And I really want to thank you for showing up that way for me and for others.
Thank you, Ellie. It's an honor.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming to Journeys with Ellie. I obviously am so excited to meet with you on your journey, wherever you're at. Okay. Thank you. That was so fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellie. You're so natural at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what one of my other friends said. Like, I just recorded my first video a while ago, and she's like, send it to me. I want to see. And it's someone who doesn't really believe a lot in this, but even she was like, wow, like you really just have a way of presenting it. And like, she's
Yeah,
like, you're natural at just sit, So
you
I love this, and I really hope that I can see it go in places. So
I do too, girl. I do too.
awesome. Well, if you have anyone in mind, like anyone that you would love to get their medicine or has their own unique blend of medicine, like I'm always searching for the wisdom keepers. So
I have a couple that I was thinking of. So there was a woman that came to our retreat
mhm.
who does a form of art integration work.
Ooh,
And yeah, and she did this art integration exercise with us on Sunday morning as we're getting ready to depart. So we were doing integration work that morning and put together this amazing, like, she had like this beautiful experience for us to create an art piece that represented our weekend, but she can talk about the importance of it and what her mission is and what her whole process. She used to be a minister or a chaplain, excuse me, at the hospital, and
oh
she's
wow.
being into this full time. So there's that woman. I also have a friend named, have you ever met Holly Seminoff?
Yeah, funny. I worked with her at Southern Exposure.
So, oh, really? Wait, Holly Seminoff?
Yeah, is she like blonde?
No, no, she's
Okay.
not. She's dark hair.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different person. I think she's on my Facebook.
Okay.
Probably Semina. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure. Does she do yoga?
she used to teach, well, she'll do yoga, but she channels source
Yes. Okay.
and yeah, and
She
she
was
does.
at the symposium.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can reach out to her actually. I have her on my Facebook.
Okay,
Um, will you send me the other lady's information? And was
sure.
there anybody else?
Um, I have you ever met Mari Hamilton?
That does sound familiar.
Okay. Uh, I can connect you with her. I don't know if I don't know. I'll let you talk to her and see if there's stuff that she can talk about what she does on a
Okay.
recorded video. Because hers is a lot of like journey work stuff.
Yeah.
So, but there's other stuff she does too. So that could, anyways, let me ask her if she is.
Absolutely. Yeah, please do.
But yeah, I've got plenty more. It's just what kind of angles are you looking for?
I
Or
think just everything. Like, I really want to tap into the people that are doing the work that have kind of their own unique blend of medicine, like the wisdom keepers, and how can we translate that into, I want to tap into people wherever they're at on their journey. And that might be someone who's just starting,
okay.
and give them ways to like, be like, oh, that sounds interesting, all the way to the people who are like me and you and have been doing work for 20 years, and we're like, yeah, our tool belts are stocked up and everything. And so I want to be able to speak to all levels,
Okay.
and just pull the information so that we can do the connecting.
I've got two beautiful women. They're my apprentices. And so they've got some beautiful journey stories and what they're working on right now and how they got to where they are.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. One of them wants to start doing YouTube videos too. So this would be a great way for her to get herself out there, but not doing the interview, but being interviewed. And so
Right.
I think that would be a great experience for her.
Okay. Well, I knew you would be just an abundance of course, because you are so connected. And I think that's really what I want to tap into, is because I've kept my world so small the last 2 years that I'm finally ready to come out of hermit mode and start connecting with the people that like make it worth being out of hermit mode.
Right? Yes.
So yeah.
I love it. Okay, so let me write down these names so I don't forget. So I've got Mindy and Kelly and who else did I say?
Holly
Holly,
and maybe Mari.
Sandra, and okay, let me, I got 5 people. So let me read
Awesome.
them, and then
I would
I'll
love that.
once I get a yay from them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And once I stop this, it'll probably take a little bit of time for the Zoom to process it, but I'll send you the
Okay.
link once I get it. And it'll be just on the cloud and you can download it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
thank you.
Kelly, we'll see you, hon.
Bye.